Thanks, Pat. Thank you. Get me all wound up now.
Good.
Don't do that.
You know,
Wow.
when I was watching the video again of the match, you know, you must have felt like the fate of the world's women was on every stroke you took on that. Were you feeling that?
First of all, Bobby Riggs, he was a former #1 player. He wasn't just some hacker, by the way. He was one of my heroes, and I admired him. And that's the reason I beat him, actually, is because I respected him. It's true. My mom and dad, especially my dad, always said, respect your opponent and never underestimate them, ever. And he's correct. He was absolutely correct. But I knew it was about social change. And I was really nervous about whenever we announced it. And I thought, I felt like the whole world was on my shoulders. And I thought, if I lose, it's going to put women back 50 years at least. Title IX had just been passed the year before, June 23rd, 1972. And women's professional tennis, there were 9 of us that signed a $1 contract in 1970. Now remember, the match is in 73. So we're only in our 3rd year of having a tour where we could actually play, have a place to compete, and make a living. So there were 9 of us that signed that $1 contract. And our dream was for any girl born in any place in the world, if she were good enough, there'd be a place for her to compete and for us to make a living. Because before 1968, we made $14 a day, and we were under the control of organizations. So we really wanted to break away from it. But we knew it wasn't really about our generation so much. We knew it was about the future generations. We do stand on the shoulders of the people that came before us. There is no question. But every generation has the chance to make it better. That was really on my mind, is that I really wanted to start matching the hearts and minds to Title IX. Title IX, in case anybody doesn't know, which a lot of people don't probably know, but any federal funds given to a high school, college, or university, either public or private, had to finally give equal monies to boys and girls. And that changed everything.
And now there are generations, at least 1 or 2, who have experienced the equality that Title IX and other fights along the way made possible. And for women, their generations have also experienced teamwork. They got to play team sports in a way they hadn't before. So you had a legacy already built in terms of being an athlete, a legacy of the work you did to lobby for equal pay for women athletes and the Women's Sports Foundation. What now are you looking to accomplish with the Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative?
I think it goes back to an epiphany I had at 12. At 11, I wanted to be #1 tennis player in the world. And a friend had asked me to play, and I said, what's that? Tennis is not my family. Basketball and other sports. Fast forward to 12 years old. And I'm finally starting to play in tournaments where you get a ranking, you know, at the end of the year you get some. So I was daydreaming at the Los Angeles Tennis Club, and I started thinking about my sport and how tiny it was, but also that everybody who played wore white shoes, white clothes, played with white balls, and everybody who played was white. And I said to myself at 12 years old, where is everyone else? And that just kept sticking in my brain. In that moment, I promised myself I'd fight for equal rights and opportunities for boys and girls, men and women, the rest of my life. And that tennis, if I were fortunate enough to become #1, and I know being a girl would be harder to have influence already at that age, that I had this platform. And tennis is global. And I thought, you know what? I've been given an opportunity that very few people have had. Now, I didn't know if I was going to make it. This is only 12. I sure wanted it, but making it's a whole other discussion. But I just remember I promised myself. And I've really tried to keep my word. And that's who I truly am. That's just fighting for people. And unfortunately, women have had less. And we are considered less. And so my attentions, where do they have to go? I mean, it was just, you have to. Also, learn to stick up for yourself, hear your own voice. I mean, you hear all these same words keep coming out all the time. And I got really lucky because I really had an education. And I think if you can see it, you can be it. You know, if you can see it, you can be it. When you look at Pat, you look at other leaders, you look at these speakers, look at yourself, because everyone can do something extraordinary. Every single person.
And your story, Billy, has inspired so many women everywhere. Now, with the Billie Jean King Leadership Initiative, you're taking on an even bigger cause, because one thing we hear a lot about is women taking their voice, working to find their way into leadership positions. But what you're talking about is even bigger than that. It's inclusive leadership.
Totally
and
about
this is a
inclusiveness.
generation that has grown up thinking more
I know, isn't it
inclusively.
great?
So what gets you up every morning? What keeps you sustaining your work, sustaining the fight for equality, extending it, always exploring new areas, trying to find new ways to...
Well, I always drove my parents crazy anyway, because I was always the curious one. I'm highly motivated. My younger brother, in case, was a Major League Baseball player. My poor parents did not care if we were any good. And we drove them crazy, because we pushed, we wanted to be the best. And I think it's because of what I'm hearing today at TED Talk. I think to listen to these different women, to listen to different people, to listen to President Carter. 90 years old, by the way, and he was throwing these figures out that I would never, I'd have to go, excuse me, wait a minute, I need to get a list out of these figures. He was rattling off, I mean, that's amazing, I'm sorry. He's an
amazing man.
And then you're going to have President Mary Robinson, who used to be former president.
Yes.
Thank you, Irish, 62%. LBGTQ, yes. Congress is voting in June on same-sex marriage. So these are things that for some people are very hard to hear. But always remember, every one of us is an individual, a human being with a beating heart who cares and that wants to live their authentic life. Okay, you don't have to agree with somebody, but everyone has the opportunity. And I think we all have an obligation to continue to keep moving the needle forward, always. And these people have been so inspiring. That's all. I mean, it's just everyone matters. And every one of you is an influencer. You out there listening, out there in the world, plus the people here, every single person's an influencer. Never, ever forget that. Okay, so don't ever give up on yourself.
Billy, you
ready.
have been an inspiration to
Thanks,
us.
Pat. Sorry, I didn't go on. Thanks, Deb. Thanks a lot.